So yeah, just tell me about, I guess some of the some of the range of products that the kids generated here.
Yeah, so the kids, they were designed a Trojan horse kind of idea where they were having kind of like the black box phenomenon of an issue that where they had an issue of some sort. So like this one student chose blood diamonds as their example, or diamonds in general, and they wanted to kind of package the outside of the box as with an advertiser, or kind of like the benefits and kind of all the positive things of that item. And so it'd be like similar to a wolf in sheep's clothing, where you'd have a diamond that's shiny and pretty and colorful, and it means happiness and means love. And then on the inside, the students would have some of the kind of negative effects, or the kind of the hidden cost to those items.
Right.
And so they had, for example, child labor was some of them. People driving up the demand for more diamonds was one of the students' examples.
Right. So this is well along in their progress in terms of thinking about these networks, right? They'd already done concept maps, and they'd done the thank you speech and everything. So they already have a pretty good idea of networks at this stage to be able to do this particular activity.
Yeah, to do this activity, they had a good idea of a network and understood that there's more players and more people involved than originally meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought that like when a diamond arrives in a store, they understand that like to get to that store, what was its journey and who mined it and where that all came from. I think was a big part of kind of some of the research and some of the stuff they brought in things through geography, a history class, and other courses as well. Some of the other examples are fast food. So they realized that it's affordable, it satisfies the appetite, it's easy, quick, delicious. And then a lot of the side effects to fast food would be things like heart problems, obesity, and other things down the line. People can get fat and other things. So they really got a good example of kind of how those things work. Another fast food example there.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, yeah. And again, you were saying that most of the sort of completed ones in the traditional way, or the way that you requested, were done by girls.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the girls, all the completed ones, so we've got about these ones that were complete, only one is from a boy, and the rest of the boys are all kind of deconstructed.
Yeah.
But they were still quite good. For example, like one student was talking about another one of diamonds, and he did diamonds as well, and he said that they're owned by celebrities and famous people. They're traditional wedding gifts, popular, attractive, sign of wealth, valuable.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, he realized that, we buy these diamonds, which then can also buy weapons, because he saw the movie Blood Diamond a long time ago.
Right.
And he said he remembered it from the movie, and he said that the slave labor, poverty, illegal trading, death, and conflict that all come at the price of these people having these great things.
Of course, yeah.
So he was really, and he was one of the students that, his mark isn't a grade, he misses a lot of school, but he made those connections like quite strongly, which was good.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, to have these kids do this, what do they think of it as a science activity? Do they see it as kind of a strange thing for them to be doing in a science class?
Yeah, I think sometimes they think it's a little strange that it's science, and they think that sometimes it's more like, well, this is more geography or history or world issues. But then once we kind of start talking about science, and then we relate it to the Ontario curriculum, and we say, here's about the different chemical formulas and the different types of things, and we talk about the STSE issues, then they realize that like all of this is science and technology, and it's all related to what they kind of have to learn and do.
Right, right.
And it's the real like application and the implications that arise with chemistry or biology or any of the strands.
Cool. And now this black box thing, this black boxing and the Trojan horse metaphor, and then you've introduced the third way of looking at it, the wolf in sheep's clothing. I've been aware of that. Obviously, it's classic, but that's something you thought of and decided to use with them just because they maybe needed more examples, I guess. Is that?
Yeah, I think like the Trojan horse is more of like a classic example. I think in a way that and I showed the video from Troy of the Trojan horse going to the city, but I kind of thought that like a lot of the advertisers think of like people as like the sheep, and it's kind of like you go along with like the trend, and there's that term like you get called a sheep if you just go along with the herd kind of thing. So kind of having that like advertiser or those people with power kind of infiltrating with this nice fluffy exterior and having like teeth and like a wolf on the inside, kind of hidden inside. I thought And I just played a little clip off the internet of like that, and I showed a couple pictures of like a wolf with like a sheep costume, and
Yes.
and the kids really got it, and they thought that like, wow, like, there are those people like, the Happy Meal toy, and it's all packaged so wonderfully, and here you go, and then they realized that there's all these other implications to that. So
Yeah.
they were very understanding of that, and they started bringing in all their examples from their own cell phones, and like the iPhones comes out, and it's all nicely packaged. When you have it, they're not as happy as they thought they would be with it, so it drives you to the next product, and they're really aware of that. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Now there's a book on my shelf there, which I don't know if I've ever shared with you. Sorry to do this, and it is my bias,
Yeah.
but I think it comes to mind when you talk about this. Of course, it's the cancer stage of capitalism, and it's the idea that, well, first of all, John McMurtry, the author, apparently his wife passed away with cancer, like leukemia, and so he got onto this sort of idea that cancer is an interesting disease in the sense that it's obviously a terrible disease, but it's interesting in the sense that it's part of us. Like they are our own cells, but they, in a sense, mutated to continue to look like us.
Yeah.
But they're basically out to kill us.
Yeah.
Go around and consume us. And it used to, I think it was called consumption cancer at one stage. But anyway, so his idea was that nasty capitalists, let's just say, they may look like us. So it's the wolf that looks like a sheep, and or in sheep's clothing. So I don't know. What do you think of that metaphor? The idea that it's almost like it's similar to cancer.
Yeah, I think it kind of how it spreads and how it grows, and I think the idea that the kids almost convince themselves that it is them, like it's an intrinsic thing that they want. So whether they're going for any of these capitalistic things, I find that it almost, I think sometimes they lose track of where they've heard this. Like they've heard something in an ad, and they're like, I don't know why, but I want this, and I think they almost like it's been injected, disconnected from them.
Yes.
And they feel this drive to, I guess, go towards, like, even like if someone says, you get married, oh yeah, I got to get a diamond ring for someone. It's like, well, where does that come from? Like, what is fueling that, like, urge to do that? Or, I'm really hungry, oh, that Big Mac looks really good. And like, and then you're always after you're kind of disappointed. And it's like, so it's almost like you've been set up and kind of, I don't know, through your whole life kind of told this is what you need to do. And even I find with myself, like I wanted a new phone. I got the iPhone and I was like, great. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, oh, cool. But oh, the new one's coming out anyways, and it's like, oh, I want the 5, and it's just like, well, where does that come from? Like everything I can do on mine, the 5 can do. So I think it's something that like you want to obtain, and I don't know if it's our nature to climb, or if it's these ideas have been like put into us. Like the story of Stuff is a great example of that.
So this is really, quite interesting to me. It's the idea that they suddenly maybe realize that what they thought, was something about them is actually, or potentially, really about something else affecting us, like advertising or, the people behind advertising and so on. So did that actually happen with these kids, that they suddenly realize that these desires and drives and so on aren't just about them, but are about the actants that are connected to them? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, through the discussion, we did the concept mapping, and we had some examples of like where they were talking about like some of like the junk food and things, and they really got to see like, okay, well, why is it that? And I think through like deeper reflection, they got to see kind of like, I don't know where I'm getting these ideas from, or maybe it is coming from there. And I think normally it's just like, oh, I want that, and then upon like a little deeper reflection, looking in like, where did that concept enter in, and about the actin network, about where are we placed, and where are these feelings coming from, so they could have the feeling of like satisfying, or like they're hungry, or it's cool to have. And it's like, but where did that cool come from? They're like, oh, the commercial said it was cool, and then they're like, who made that commercial? The company. And then they could really make those links across, and then how that they're kind of placed centrally. So I thought that was quite interesting, and I think they understood that, and some of them were a little upset by it, because they're like, oh, you're right, like, how did this happen? And some of them were just like, that's how the world works, and kind of kept working. So
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question: is whether
Yeah.
they feel, like hard, oppressed or hard done by, or the sense that, somebody's taking advantage of them by planting these ideas in their heads or whatever.
Yeah, some of them felt that like they felt that they were taken advantage of, but they almost felt that they couldn't. They're too powerless to do something about it. Like they said, like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? It's like I'm either gonna buy this
Yeah.
or that, and he's like, I don't have I can't go and make my own phone, or I can't go and like, go find my own diamond that hasn't been
Yeah.
like doing that. They thought that it was just they were so like a small player in the game that there's all these things around them. They're just almost not against them, but they're controlling what they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry to. I'd like to switch back to audio, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to say
Nope, I
about
think that's great, yeah.
these particular visuals.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.